know you're not afraid, brother. You're up here all the time. Okay. Well, Brother Lambert, we'd like to ask you, dear brother, what was it that interested you in the truth?
Well, I have to say that my interest in the truth was first actually brought on after I got married with Janet. We were young parents and a young couple in 2004. Janet approached me one day after work and told me she wanted to study the Bible with witnesses. At first, I will not lie, it's something that shocked me, and I flat out told her no. She cannot do this to our marriage, I said. I held a lot of contentment for the witnesses due to the teachings I received at a Pentecostal church. But I even gave her an ultimatum. I told her that she had to choose between me or Jehovah. Yeah. I realized what I had said immediately, and I felt like such a fool. Making her choose over me or Jehovah. I began to break down. I immediately asked her to forgive me. She forgave me and said that she was going to the meeting. In fact, she had her clothes already laid out to wear. There was nothing that was going to stop her from attending. Well, at first I got jealous because I thought it was just another church and that they were going to try to swoon my wife away from me. I could not have that, so out of my jealousy, I went with her to the meeting. But to answer your question, I got interested in the truth after because I began to see the attitude in my wife change. Her personality began to change as well, and how she treated me as a husband. What also encouraged me is how I viewed her Bible teacher. Her Bible teacher was a full-time pioneer. She had such a deep love for Jehovah and a true respect for marriage. She was a sweet, inviting person. She genuinely cared for my wife and child, and this really impressed me.
Certainly. We appreciate those expressions.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you another question. What challenges did you have to overcome, Brother Lambert?
Well, I had to let go of jealousy first. Then I had a real hard time trusting people. See, I left the Christian church with a bad experience. As a teen, I was truly dedicated to the church. In fact, I even rapped at special events to promote the church. Okay, MCG. I began to see how the business side of the church ran, and this really discouraged me. And this made me feel very far away from God, so I left the church. But over time, trust came back, and my relationship with Jehovah began to grow. My blood family, well, they were not supportive at all. My mom is very dedicated to her church, and still has issues to this day, digesting the fact that I am a Jehovah's Witness. My sisters, well, cut me off too. In fact, my oldest sister is a pastor at a church, and she does not accept me or my family. I literally walked away from my blood family. Other challenges I had to deal with were stress, my temper, attitude, not to mention raising my daughters and taking care of my ill wife.
Wow, you had to overcome a lot. You mean to tell me you were an MC, huh?
MC.
I can't see that. Wow. Well, Brother Lambert, we'd like to ask you another question. What impressed you about the first time that you attended a congregation meeting?
My first meeting I attended with my wife, I was definitely, it was not how I imagined it. I was really shocked to see that everyone had a Bible and they were actually using it. The other thing that impressed me was that people were raising their hands and expressing their thoughts from the Bible. And the meeting ran very organized. But the biggest thing that impressed me was that there was no collection plate going around, and their focus was not on money.
Very good. And now, what about the first time that you went out in field service? What was that like for you?
I was very nervous. It took me a long time to become an unbaptized brother. It was 2007 now, and I had no clue to what to do. So I latched on to my wife when I went to the door, and I became her silent partner. I let her do all the talking. However, as I continued to go out in service, I got stronger. I worked alongside other brothers and sisters and learned a lot from others out in service. I began to feel comfortable delivering my presentation.
Very good. Now the last question, Brother Lambert, is how did others in the congregation help you to make spiritual progress?
The brothers, well, they offered guidance along the way. I continued studying with my Bible teacher. I joined the school and I got baptized in 2010. Over the years, I've learned many important tools to keep my family on track. With raising 3 daughters, I need all the help I can get. That is why me and my wife are so grateful for the fellowship and association with the brothers and sisters. My entire family has really been encouraged by the brothers and sisters at the hall. I made a new family again through Jehovah's organization. We were located from Las Vegas to Lomita, and we have been blessed with a wonderful congregation. Many of our sisters and brothers have came to our aid and helped out. My family has become strong in the truth through the help of the congregation. After I was laid off from my job, I did not let this discourage me, even though it was the first time I ever been laid off. But I was encouraged by a pioneer brother to stay busy and go out in the field service, so I auxiliary pioneered for the month of April. So that was good. Jehovah has provided for us along the way and has blessed my entire family here at the South Torrance congregation. We are truly blessed.
Certainly you are. Well, brother, we really appreciate it. Well, we got an old timer here. I don't mean it like that, brother.
I don't know how else to take it.
Okay. Well, we'd like to ask you, what interests you in the truth?
Actually, I wasn't interested in the truth. My wife was interested in the truth, and when she started to study, she started to witness to me, and it just irritated me because she had all kinds of questions that I couldn't answer. So one evening, there was a knock at the door, and I was laying on the couch trying to take a nap, and I said, "Who in the world could that be?" My wife says, I asked some friends to stop by, the brother and sister, that were going to offer to study the Bible with us, and I agreed to study the Bible so I could prove that they were wrong. That was the only reason that I agreed to study the Bible. I've been trying to do that for a little over 40 years. It hasn't worked out too well so far.
Very good. And now we'd like to ask you, have you had to face any challenges?
Well, I think like most of us, we had to make some changes in our lives. In my particular situation, I was working with a family business, and the family didn't care much for witnesses, so I ended up having to leave the family business and the family for quite a while. They didn't accept us, but it worked out well. Jehovah trained me how to do other things, so that was good. There was a social club that I belonged to for a while. I think they call them the Hells Angels. Actually, I didn't belong to it. I just associated with them, and I had to cut off the association with some of those. I remember I called a couple of the fellows, and I said, you know, the trash man comes on Thursday. The motorcycles will be out there in front of the house on Thursday. Whoever gets here first gets the bikes. They came and got the bikes. That was the last I saw of the people that associated with that particular social club.
Wow, so we have an MC and a biker, huh? Wow. Learning a lot about them, aren't we? Well, we'd like to ask you another question, brother. What impressed you about the first time that you attended a congregation meeting?
Actually, it was the school, the Theocratic Ministry School. There was a brother that was giving a talk, and I thought to myself, you know, if I get nothing else out of coming to these meetings, it'd be nice to be able to learn how to talk like that. And that was the first impression that I got. The friendliness, of course, in the congregation was outstanding. The love and the love that the brother showed. The warmth in the congregation was totally different because I'd been associated with the Catholic Church. They go to the same church for 20 years and never know who the person is sitting next to you. Here, everybody knew each other.
Excellent. Now, what about the first time that you went out in service? What was that like?
I'll never forget it. I had the brother that was studying with the came over to the house and picked me up. I was the first one to get in the car with him, and then he drove over to another brother's home where he picked up 3 young brothers, pre-teens or maybe early teens. And then we went to the meeting, then we went to the Kingdom Hall for the meeting for field service. When we got there, it was me, the brother that I was studying with me, the 3 young brothers that he picked up, a couple of maybe 3 or 4 sisters, and 1 old brother. He must have been at least as old as I am now. And I thought to myself, matter of fact, when I went home, my wife asked me, how did things go? And I said, you know what? I think this religion is for kids and old people and women. I wasn't really overly impressed with that first trip out.
Okay, let's ask the next question. So how did others in the congregation help you to make spiritual progress?
There were brothers and sisters that were so loving and caring. The brother that was the overseer of the congregation at that time, he and I became very fast friends over Actually, we weren't fast friends. It took a while for us to develop the friendship. And he was a very loving brother. He's 91 years old. I just visited him here a week or two ago. Very loving brother. And he lovingly, I remember right after I got baptized, he came up to me and he said, "Jim," and he put his arm around my shoulder and he says, "Now that you're baptized," and I thought, oh boy, I'm going to get to pass out magazines or something now. He says, "Let me talk to you a little bit." And he says, "It's about your family," because I had 4 sons. And what I had noticed in the congregation is that on the aisle, if you notice, it's almost without exception, you'll see that if there's a family, it's the brother that sits on the aisle. And who sits next to him? His wife. Not anymore, but that's the way it used to be. And you know who sat next to the wife was all of the kids. And the brother was kind enough to tell me, he says, "Do you think you might be able to share the kids? Maybe you could sit on the aisle, 2 kids on one side of you, and then maybe 2 kids on the other side." And it really struck home with me what a loving arrangement that was, because it took courage on his part to come to me and talk to me about that. But it was something that I truly benefited from and continue to benefit throughout the time that we were raising the kids. It really struck me as a warm, loving arrangement. So that brother really helped me a great deal. Brothers in the school, the other servants in the congregation were very, very encouraging. But I'll always remember my buddy Nick.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to add this question in. Do you have any regrets, brother?
Absolutely not.
Excellent. Brother Cochran, we'd like to ask you that question too.
Yes. I spent about the first 24 years in the Catholic Church. That's very regretful.
That's the only one, huh? Well, brothers, we appreciate it.